comedy, which is The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp.
Yes, the most British movie that we've ever seen.
The most British thing that I think exists, which is also, I mean, somewhat intentional. Like, this movie is about like Britain and like the British, the heart of like Britishness. So it,
Right.
yeah.
It's kind of simultaneously mourning the end of the kind of classic genteel Britishness, and also saying we're fighting the Nazis now. We need to get gritty.
Mm, yeah, get over it. A
Yeah.
little bit. This is a directed by Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger,
Our first.
collectively known as the Archers. Yeah, our first on the show, and also the first one that I have seen ever, just in life. I've never seen
Oh
any of
man.
their other movies.
Oh, I can't wait till you see Red Shoes. Oi.
Same. I'm very excited to like get more into their catalog. This is not their first movie. I think this is like their fourth or fifth movie, but the first one that we're covering on the show. And yeah, I think from what my sort of cultural osmosis knowledge of Powell Pressburger movies are like, this fits the bill. It's a like very colorful technicolor sort of, I don't know if I'd necessarily call it an epic, but it's a big movie. And
This
it's like you feel it.
Yeah, I think that the Technicolor I think is a good place to start with this because not a lot of movies have that kind of lush three strip Technicolor thing going on, right? And like
Hmm.
it's an extra expense to the production. I think it's kind of interesting like what movies they feel like are appropriate to do in three strip Technicolor, and also like what having Technicolor does for a movie.
Hmm.
This movie starts off in like straight up current day. Like there are people riding motorcycles. And it was kind of shocking to see because I'm so used to the Technicolor movies that we've seen so far being like this like fantasy, or like it's like a
Hmm.
painterly vision of like a rosy past. And it was just so weird watching like motorcycles in Technicolor. It made it look like a 60s movie. Like the very beginning of it had that feeling.
Almost the entire movie, actually. I felt like if you told me this movie was released in like 1961, I
Yeah.
might have believed you, because
Yeah.
it feels much more, it feels much newer than I think most. I mean, just being in color at all adds a lot to that. But I think also just like the kind of scope of it,
Hmm.
and it's like the specific type of Technicolor too. Like, right, there is this kind of ephemeral thing to three strip Technicolor that's like people have tried to kind of recapture, and it's very difficult. Like, no one actually knows the actual like the chemical mix that they used, and so even if you were to shoot on like the same kind of film stock, which also doesn't exist anymore, like, people keep trying to like recreate, in particular, Powell Pressburger movies Technicolor,
Wow.
and they can't do it. They don't know what they did to the film
Oh man.
to make them look like this.
Yeah, that's crazy. I really, if I ever make a movie, which probably won't happen, I would want to make it in like a look, the kind of radiant three strip Technicolor
Mm,
look.
yeah.
But I was thinking like, while I was in that modern day sequence, and I was thinking about like the kind of jarring aspect of seeing a Technicolor movie this way, like I was like, this is the only like not fantasy contemporary three strip we've seen, but like, um, like what's it like another? And is it the case that there's almost something kind of romantic about three strip Technicolor, right? It's like fantasy. It's like it's the Wizard of Oz. It's Gone with the Wind. And I was thinking, like, Gone with the Wind is not fantasy, but it uses these like hyper real colors, and it's like
It kind of is,
romanticizing.
though.
Well, yeah, but it's like romanticizing this time, right? It is using the
Hmm.
three strip
Yeah.
to like feed into the romance of longing for this era that is lost. And that's the same thing that's going on in this movie. It is kind of a
Yeah.
British Gone with the Wind. It's got like a similar kind of
Mm.
many years long scope. It's about a similar kind of idea of like, here's the honorable way that we used to be that doesn't exist anymore, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in that way, like, even though, Gone with the Wind did not go up to current day, it stayed completely in the past. This one has like a framing device of being contemporary, but most of the movie is set in older, better times,
Yeah.
a more civilized age.
I do think this movie is at least slightly more kind of critical of the
Yeah,
past and of like old ways of thinking than Gone with
yeah,
the Wind is. But yeah, it's true. It does have really right all of the like kind of big technicolor movies that we watched are very romantic in the kind of like poetic sense, right? Where they're like
yeah, yeah,
they're about these sort of like idealistic characters or times or stories. And yeah, I think this movie is almost kind of trying to, not deconstruct is maybe taking it a bit too far, but it at least is trying to, I guess, yeah, somewhat kind of deconstruct the a lot of sort of things that are ingrained into British culture in the 1940s or like in the early 20th century. Yeah, it simultaneously does feel kind of celebratory and self-critical.
it definitely does both of those things. I remembered to make a synopsis for the other ones, and I forgot to
Yes.
for this. No, I forgot to for this one.
Ah,
Uh, but I guess we
this
should.
one's easy to synopse, I guess.
Yeah, there is a man named Clive Candy, and
Oh yeah,
he
there is no character named Colonel Blimp in this film.
there is no character named Colonel Blimp. He kind of represents the Blimp, the
Hmm.
platonic Blimp. Uh, but there's a guy named Candy. He starts off as kind of like a headstrong, younger person in the military in during the Boer War. He has ideals and he believes in them, and he'll break with his superiors in order to follow those ideals, and that kind of gets him in trouble. He ends up having to do a duel, and the person, because he insults a German officer, I think,
Hmm.
and somebody else from the German military is kind of randomly assigned to fight him. It's a duel with sabers, and they injure each other, but then while they're healing, they become friends. Candy is in Germany with this lady, and the German falls in love with the lady, and the German, he's a main character, so I should say what his name is.
Well, he's got a heck of a name.
Yes, they mention that in it's like we've only ever met,
Yeah.
you only ever meet one guy named Theo Kretschmar Schuldorf, uh, but and the lady is Edith. The two of them fall in love. You kind of expect Candy and the lady to fall in love, but he's like, "No, great, go ahead. I'm gonna go back to England now." And then as soon as he goes back to England, he realizes that he was in love with the lady, and then Vertigo style attempts to like recreate her in every relationship that he has, and she's played by the
Yeah.
same person in the next couple
Yeah.
people that he is involved with. But then the movie kind of keeps moving through forward various points in time to him during the First World War, and he's a brigadier general, and then the Second World War, where he has kind of becoming outmoded. The framing device is a bunch of them doing a mock kind of military exercise. He's kind of getting ambushed and overwhelmed by the new people's ways. And the movie concludes with them sort of realizing that this sort of genteel older way that Blimp believes in doing things is outmoded in the face of the horrific Nazis.
Yeah. Candy is definitely presented as a guy who like really strongly believes in the idea of like honorable warfare and sort
Hmm.
of like the gentleman's agreement almost of right because it's like at the beginning of the movie, right? He's like doing duels and stuff. All these there are all these rules. And by the end of the movie, they're like, no, like it's war. Like, who gives a shit about any of this? Like the enemy certainly doesn't. So like we're getting our asses handed to us.
If
We
they're
gotta
willing to break the rules, then the rules don't mean anything anymore.
right. I've never fought in a war, but I my general thought on it is like there's no such thing as honorable warfare. Like when you're killing people, it's not like honor doesn't really factor into it. I think that there are it's nice to have ideals, and like war crimes are bad and people shouldn't do them. But I think especially like Candy's particular sort of like idealistic view of war is very much based on this like 19th century kind of mindset that I think World War One kind of shattered for a lot of people and a lot of the world of this, that like a war could be as horrific as that.
Yeah.
um and so we kind of start to see his, not really disillusionment, because he really tries to stick to his guns, and it's pretty much everyone else who's like, Candy, like you have to, like, things aren't like they used to be.
Yeah.
You gotta get out of this mindset. This movie's like politics, I guess, I think are maybe a little bit off. I mean, right, because it's the earliest section of the movie when he's like at his youngest is he is a soldier in the Second Boer War in South Africa, which was horrible.
Yeah,
Like
that's the
the
thing.
British
It's a
Army did so many war crimes, and the term concentration camp was invented to refer to the camps that the British set up in the Boer War,
yeah, and
which
like
is mentioned in this movie. But I
not
feel like
like
they,
too different from Gone with the Wind in that this movie like is sort of denying the war
yeah,
crimes that the British did. Like that's what he gets into the fight over, is that he was
right,
is that the British were criticized for the way that they handled the Boer War, and he was like, "No, you can't do that, sir."
yeah. And it's like, well, I mean, I think even like in the 1940s, people knew that like there was a lot of war crimes happening in the Boer War. I do think this movie at least is very vague about it
Hmm.
at best. Right, at worst, it is sort of like denying that it happened. But so that, I think that almost immediately kind of like put a bad taste in my mouth too, because that's like the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
There were a number of things that kind of gave me a bad taste in this movie, but there's also a lot of things that I really like about it. So kind of overall, I'm pretty positive on it. But
Hmm.
I at least like that it is grappling with like big ideas that feel very sort of like, kind of much like Casablanca, sort of feel very, not ripped in the headlines, but very timely for when this movie was coming out. Like
Yeah.
um, it's very much about like the current moment in Britain, and like how people are kind of responding to it.
Right. Yeah. I wonder if there was, maybe a sizable contingent of people in England who, like, this movie is basically saying, like, the way that we used to do things was nice, but there are Nazis now. Like, we need to change our ways. And
Hmm.
it's making like a kind of, it's not even like using like a metaphor to say that. Like, I think a movie nowadays
It's
might, like, it
having
is
characters say that.
yeah, it is just like, it's not like Cabaret or Sound of Music or something like that, or another musical where like things are happy and then Nazis happen, right? Like and it's all in the past, and it's like a kind of parable about what could happen in the future. This is like, no, this is happening right now. Like this is
Hmm.
like we have gone from the late 1800s to right now, and we are in a different time. The Nazis are at our doors currently. We need to destroy them, basically.
Hmm. And like kind of the character that this viewpoint is like given to, the sort of mouthpiece for it, is Schuldorf, the German character,
Yeah.
who is like, they fought in the duel and they became friends, and then after World War One, they meet up again in a British prison of war camp, and Schuldorf is like snubbing him, basically, like won't look at him, won't talk to him.
Yeah.
There's a lot of emphasis on just like the great shame that he feels as like Germany as a defeated nation.
Hmm. It's definitely like the narrative of, post World War One Germany, of like,
Hmm.
you're not treating us right, and because you're not treating us right, now we're gonna do another one, basically.
But right, and it's like Schuldorf really kind of comes around on that. It's like this is like who cares? Like there's when initially after World War One, right? He has this thing of like I could never feel proud again because like I was a soldier in an army that was defeated, and that is like the greatest shame possible.
Hmm.
And then I feel like after a number of years, Schuldorf was like, no, this is like the people in my life are the most important thing. I'm pushing them away. And I think Schuldorf really has, I think after the Nazis take over, has like it's kind of off screen, but through his dialogue, you really kind of see that he has put a lot of his previous ideas of kind of military rules and honor and things like that behind him. And he's like, no, this is this is horrific.
Yeah, I think what this movie is doing, like in him, is basically making a case for like doing the right thing, the thing that is like morally right, matters more, is not related to the thing that is called for by honor and manners and that kind of thing. And
Mm,
like it
hmm.
is more important to do the thing that is morally right. And like you're saying, like there's a part where Schuldorf is basically where Schuldorf, it's kind of heartbreaking. He says like his sons have become Nazis,
Hmm.
and like he can't he he couldn't get through to them, and the only thing that he can do is fight against the Nazis. And you could see like the heartbreak in him when he
Yeah.
has to leave Germany and his children because they have become lost.
Yeah, Anton Walbrook is the actor who plays Schuldorf, and he's so good. And there's the scene right where he's like applying to immigrate to England, and they're like, "You're German. We're real suspicious about you." And he gives this like long monologue, pretty much of just sort of like his like failure as a father to his sons who have become Nazis, and how he's just like there's nothing left for him in his country that he's like dedicated so much of his life to like protecting, and now he's just like,
Hmm.
no, it's all ruined, which is a very uncomfortable thing to feel as an American right now. um a lot of parallels there, but like I it's like the back half of the movie I think really turned me around on it when it like really kind of gets into these bigger ideas a lot more, and it's a bit
Hmm.
less of a like it's a bit less of a sort of like romp
Romp, yeah.
about soldiers, and it becomes a bit more movie about like big ideas. Yeah. There's not to say there isn't fun stuff during the romp section of the
The romp
movie.
section is fun. It's there's a lot of, that's the most British part. That's the part where they're really just getting to go, "I say, old girl." And
Well, that too, like that's a big part of the Britishness is just like Candy is like Britain personified into a person, right? On purpose. Like I think that's the intent. But
right.
it's like he's got his big mustache to hide his dueling scar. There's also a lot of talk about how like German soldiers like love dueling scars and they like show them off whenever possible. And they're like, you're not a real soldier unless you have a dueling scar. And he's like, no, I have a dueling scar on my face. I'm growing a mustache to cover it up.
Which he's I don't think this is actually intentional, but like he's got maybe his upper lip is not so stiff anymore.
Oh, but yeah, just like the dialogue, like the accents. There's so much sort of like very heavy British speech
Yeah.
in this too.
They do the in my eyes cardinal sin of movies set in an earlier time, which is they go, Conan Doyle, never heard of him. I
Although at that point, like he was very famous, so it's more just like that character doesn't know who he is.
Yeah. Right, he's a, yeah, the character knows all about Sherlock Holmes. Like again, like this super, you know, patriotism, nationalism, whatever you call it. It's just like we're the ones who have Sherlock Holmes. Uh, the guy who hasn't heard
Heard
of
of him?
the guy who hasn't heard of Arthur Conan Doyle has read every Sherlock Holmes story, and then they just
Which
have
you
like
think
a,
he would have looked at the byline at some point, but whatever.
I don't know, people. If you walk out for the credits, I don't know who the key grip
Right.
was.
What else is there to talk about? There is a a big sort of like taxidermy montage, which is another thing that I found distasteful about this movie.
I thought it was like a pretty slick like editing thing that they did because
Sure, but then it's also there's like rhinos and elephants in there. And it's like we have like there are like four rhinos left, and I'm just like I hate this so much. It's like it's because of people like Candy that there are four rhinos left. You know?
but it is to show the passage of time like in one of the time skips in the movie, and so it's showing his kind of the results of his various hunting trips, and it has like a little date on a little plate under the head, and so you see them like
Yeah.
pop into existence on his wall to show like 20 years passing by or something. I thought is a pretty neat thing to do.
Is good ending trick, but I also just like, ugh, gross. I do like, or I don't know, maybe like's the wrong word, but he gets this fancy apartment in London with his wife, who is played by Deborah Kerr, who also plays Edith, and also plays later his driver. And they're like, "Oh man, what a nice apartment we have! Like, this apartment's gonna last forever." And I was like, that apartment is gonna get blown up in the Blitz for sure, 100%. And I was right.
Yeah, speaking also of like his wife, I wasn't really sure what to make of what they were doing with that. Like it doesn't seem kind of related to the main idea of the movie, but there is this whole thing of it's like he had his love that he lost and he is desperately trying to replace her. I mean, it is kind of like him desperately trying to cling on to the way that things were.
Right.
But
It's
like
his stubbornness and his sort of like single-minded. He's like, "No, I found one woman who I find attractive, and I will only ever pursue women who look exactly like her."
yeah, and are the same age as her too. I it's like it's like yeah, gender politics wise, it's a little it's weird, and I feel like it is like you know it really does remind me of Vertigo, right? But Vertigo is like critical of what is happening
Yeah.
there,
Vertigo was like, "This is pretty creepy, huh?"
and yeah, there's a part I don't know if this was intentional, maybe, but it's like there's a part where I think we're showing his German friend Theo. He's showing him like a painting of his wife, and he has it on the wall next to all of his animal head trophies. Like he is like, here's another trophy. You know, it's
Mhm.
uh, it's yeah, it's weird, and it's like I yeah, it's like as he gets older, he's still dating women the same age because when he's in his 70s, he's still like, "Hey, remember that one girl that I"
The third woman played by Deborah Kerr, I don't think there is at least any intentional kind of like romantic connection between those two. It's
Hmm.
more that he just likes keeping her around because she looks like his dead wife and woman that he was in love with when he was younger.
But that's the thing. It's like I don't
Which
know
is
if he
still
ever
weird and creepy, but like I don't get the sense that he is sort of like romantically pursuing her anyway.
it doesn't really even feel like he loved his dead wife though, you know? Like
Right.
he just wanted to replace the woman that he lost, including the day that he gets home, he dates her sister and then he's just
Right.
like, "It's
Right.
not the same."
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like the few scenes we see of their marriage does seem to be relative seems pretty happy. Like I feel like there aren't really any scenes of them fighting or like not getting along or
Yeah,
it being uncomfortable or weird. It seems like the movie is telling us as an audience like no, they had a like traditional happy marriage.
right.
But it is like this thing that yeah, he just like can't let go of. Much like his I guess his sense of duty and of honor and such, which I think is what led to him telling Schuldorf to go for it also is because he felt a sort of I don't know obligation or sort of he was honor bound like not to get in the way of their romance.